Welcome to Whores Talk Horror.
We're not really whores. We just like wordplay.
Hello and welcome to Whores Talk Horror. I'm Sharon.
And I'm Melinda.
Today we are going to be talking with the writer Yelyna De León and director Iga Garza about their award-winning slasher film Murder in the Woods. Yelyna and Luis, welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you so much for having us. We're excited to be here and talk about Murder in the Woods.
Thank you for having us. We're super excited to be here, and we're very excited that you guys like the movie. So we're looking forward to talking with you, girls.
Yes, we loved the movie, and we just appreciate you guys joining us. I know you're both very, very busy. Also, thank you for sending us the screener to the film. Spencer and I actually saw it in the theater a few weeks ago. And Yelyna, sorry we missed you. I know you were there doing a meet and greet afterwards. We walked out into the lobby, didn't see anyone. So we left because we had a really long drive home. But I actually rewatched the movie again last night. And Mindy's already watched it twice this weekend. And we all loved it. So let's just start talking about it. All right. So Murder in the Woods was released on August 14th in theaters and drive-ins around the U.S., and then it came on digital and VOD release on September 18th. Congrats on that. I did notice that on IMDb that the initial release date was back in 2017. Was that just a limited release back then? What were the circumstances that led from the initial 2017 release to this nationwide theater drive-in and VOD release this year? Yelyna, do you want to answer that?
Sure. So we actually did a festival run. That's what that was. So it wasn't a theatrical release or anything like that. We did a lot of festivals. We won some awards. We did Macabre. We went to the Chicago Latino Film Festival. We actually premiered at the Festival Internacional Cine de Guadalajara here in Los Angeles. So it's FIG in LA. And then we also did the LA Skins Festival. So we did really, really well on the festival circuit. We took it to Denver. We took it to Portland. So that's why you see the 2017 release. But it was just for festivals.
Okay, that's awesome. And yeah, I think I saw that you guys won like 9 awards on this film or something like that.
Yes, we did very well. We did very well, and yeah, so it's one of those things you can call like things that they don't teach you at film school, right? Everybody is so excited to put their credits on IMDb and everything, and that's something that nobody should do until your film is going to be really released. Because even though you can see it on Rotten Tomatoes and you can see it in every other platform, that the release is 2020, IMDb will not change it. We've requested multiple times, and they will not change it because they have it as a 2017 wide release, and it wasn't a wide release. We just work with the movie, traveling with the movie with festivals, which a lot of movies do, and now because they do that, they get a hard date. So that's it's been a battle with them.
Okay, that's interesting. Yeah, that's good to know because I honestly had not heard of this movie until this year, until just recently. So I was wondering why, if it was around for 3 years. But thank you for clarifying that. And as I mentioned, Yelyna, you wrote this movie. Luis, you directed it. You both also helped produce it as well. Have you guys worked together before? How did you come together to make this film? Who approached who?
Well, when we were at USC, that's where we met. We were one of the few Latinos, and I had this domestic violence survivor approach me to create. She wanted to tell her story, and it was a very inspirational story. And then I was looking for a writer to partner up with to write the screenplay and work on this project together. And I met Yelyna at a mixer at USC. It was, I think, her first semester. It was my second or third semester there. And we started working on that project. We developed it. She wrote it, and it was just taking. I was hitting the investors really hard and pushing until this guy told me, I don't have this much money, but what can you do with this much? And I was like, oh, I have a great horror film. We should do that one. And he's like, okay, let's do it. So then, and we didn't have anything. So I go to Yelyna and I'm like, hey, we have to write a horror film. But we're lucky that we both love slashers, and we both love the we grew up with those movies from Wes Craven and John Carpenter. So that's so we developed the movie together. Literally sounds cliche, but we sat down at a coffee shop and on a napkin, and then we started just developing the what the movie was going to be, the beats, and also putting our resources together, where we're going to shoot it. Had done some a short film in Topanga. They had an awesome location, and then she's worked with other actors, some of the actors in the movie in the past, in a movie called A Better Life and other projects. So we started like brainstorming, and then we came out with the idea, and then she went up and wrote it.
So I know that I've said this. Sharon and I have both said this like a million times, but I loved this movie and enjoyed every damn minute of it. I was saying to Luis earlier before we started recording that I feel weird saying I had a blast watching it, but it's one of those slasher movies I think that is a blast to watch. The title of the film, Murder in the Woods, sounds pretty self-explanatory, but there's definitely more to the movie than that. Without getting too spoilery, can you tell us a little bit about the story of the film?
Yale, you want to take that one?
Sorry.
I'm like, maybe you should ask the writer. That's such a hard question to answer with this kind of movie. Because yeah, it's hard not to give away spoilers. It is a very fun slasher. I'm so glad that you enjoyed it, because it's one of those movies that we really made for people to enjoy and just have fun with. It's like it's one of those movies I'm like, if you are talking to the screen, then I know that I did a good job writing. um let's see. It's about six young people who go out and to celebrate a birthday. But they go to a cabin in the woods, and then mysterious things start happening, and that's because there's a secret that the cabin holds that nobody knows. And so I will say I love whodunits, so it is a whodunit. And like you said, it's a lot more than what the title says, Murder in the Woods. It's so funny because I rarely read reviews or things like that, because you either get it or you don't get it. You either love this kind of movie or you don't. But I remember reading, was it Roper, Chicago Sun-Times, which I'm from Chicago, so I was just like, oh my god, he gets me. He called it darkly funny, and I was like, yes, okay, great, he gets it. I love that. So I will say that it's one of those movies that you have to watch over and over again, in the sense that you might have missed some things, because every time I watch it, I watch it 3,000 times for quality control. And I'm just like, wow, it's like an onion that you peel, and every time you watch it, you just like learn more things, and you're like, oh wow, how did I miss that? So it's one of those movies where you can have it on the background and have fun, and you can like rewatch it, and it's just a very fun ride.
I've only rewatched it twice, and I already noticed things that I was like, whoa, I totally didn't even notice that the first time. So I'm sure there's more rewatches in my future.
All right. Luis, I have a quote from you that I want to read. Quote, I realized that this type of film had never been done in English for a mainstream audience where Latinos and people of color are the leads and they are not portrayed in stereotypical ways. This is why, while developing this indie feature, we were very conscious of making sure that there would be a diverse cast in lead roles. End quote. So I think this is great. You're completely right. There is not a lot of diversity in typical Hollywood movies, and especially in the horror genre. So how did you go about tackling that issue while making this movie so that it represents the Latino community in ways that you don't normally see in films?
So when it goes back to when I met Yelyna, we both had that goal. We both, we saw the lack of representation, especially. We started developing this in 2014, and when we shot it in 2015, so we were ahead of the game. Now it's cool to do this in Hollywood, and everybody's supposedly behind it, which what you can see is more talk than walk, in the actual in reality. So we both love these movies, and we never saw us represented. And and yesterday I was shooting a project, helping a friend of mine, Jimmy, who does food reviews, and he has some assistance from one of them is it's a Latino kid, Mexican kid from USC, and he just started doing film. And he's like, "Oh, I didn't get into the film school. I'm in, this other he's in another school, not the film school, but he's pursuing film because he didn't know he could do it. He's like, as a person of color, I never thought I could pursue something like this until I met this professor, and she told me that I could and I should, that I was talented. And I was like, yeah, I mean, that's what we made this movie. It's like, look, you guys can do it. We can do it, and we've done it. So for me, that's the very fulfilling. And that's that's what we did this movie for, is to show all those young creatives that, si se puede, that we can do this, and if we stick together, we're gonna be able to have us, in lead roles in non-stereotypical ways, because you can start seeing Latinos now more, but they're always in stereotypical ways, part of a cartel, or cholos, or maids, and you know so it's about having Latinos in main roles without stereotypes. That was her goal from the get-go.
I will say that as an actor, I've portrayed a lot of stereotypes myself, and I know the kind of work that's out there. I have a lot of friends who are actors, and I read scripts weekly. I mean, it's not changing. They say it's changing. It's a very, very slow change. And so that was like a main goal that we both had. We're like, okay, we want to make sure that we can be that change that we want to see, because it's taking Hollywood forever and ever and a day to actually give us roles that are not 2 lines here, 3 lines there, where we have to have the thickest accents you've ever heard. um, that was like a main concern for me, because I have been in the industry as an actor, and I just wanted to make sure that I can give opportunities to up and coming talent, where they can just, have actual arcs. And these archetypes were so fun to write, because I always knew, I'm like, okay, you know what? We auditioned everybody. I mean, everybody was able to come to the audition, but I always knew, like, I was a casting director on this. Welcome to indie filmmaking. So I always knew, I was like, okay, whoever is the best actor is going to get this. But at the same time, we both were in agreement that we wanted to make sure that we could cast people of color in lead roles. And I'm just so grateful that we were able to find the talent, which I mean, I love seeing them on the big screen. I love seeing them on the poster. I'm just like, look, brown is beautiful, guys. Um, so that's been our message from day one. And something I'm really proud of, because like I said, you can turn on the TV right now and it's not representative of what this country looks like, at least, even, or the world. And like we said, it's a lot of talk, but we actually we walked the walk and we did it. So hopefully other people will follow suit. Although it's funny, because I'm like, yeah, just like Christopher Columbus didn't discover America, all of a sudden everyone's discovering Latinos. I'm like, guys, we've been here. I don't know what you're talking about. Like, we've been here. Like, where's the Latino talent? Where's the Latino actors? Where's the Latino writers? Where's the Latino directors? Oh, we can't find any. I'm like, really? Because I know so many. And we've all been here working really hard. So I hope it's finally going to open up, because those numbers are horrible. It's like 3%. I think they just did another study recently, and I was just like, oh my god, I don't even want to read it, because I know that the numbers are very low. So I'm just grateful to our investors that they actually believed in the project, and that we were able to make it with our vision.
I have to say, you did a phenomenal job casting this film. I mean, every single performance was great. I had not, they're all kind of like up and coming unknown actors and actresses. But I hope they all go on to have very, very successful careers, because they're amazing. I mean, that's one of the things that made this film so good, is that you don't always see that type of star performance in a horror movie.
I agree with Sharon about the cast. Absolutely amazing. One of the other things, though, that I really loved about the movie that you don't, or at least I feel like you don't find in quote unquote traditional Western or American horror movies, is I loved how religion was discussed and played a part in the film, specifically between the two leads, when discussing family tradition as something that's taken a little bit more seriously, instead of being written off as like superstition or, oh, my grandma, isn't she kooky? Ha ha ha. Like in Murder in the Woods, religion and tradition adds weight to the story, raises the overall stakes in the horror and the tension in the film. And it's done in a way that I feel, again, rarely gets acknowledged in typical quote unquote horror Hollywood movies. Probably because those are traditionally made with mostly white actors and producers and directors and writers and completely lack cultural references. Or if they do have any, they're referenced, but are usually either appropriated or stereotypical. So that just added like a whole other element to the movie that was something I'm not always familiar with, but that just, it drove it home, drove the story home for me a little bit more. And that's all I'm going to say because I'm trying to avoid spoilers, but I loved it.
Well, so, that's when you can tell that a movie was written, directed, and produced by people that are part of that world in the
Yeah.
sense of they lived it versus a Google search, right? Because you see all these other, movies talking about, Latino culture and Mexican culture, and you watch them and they're full of cliches, and you can just tell they were Google searches.
Yeah.
That's the reality. And that's why we need diverse people behind the camera and in front of the camera, because we have different experiences that other people don't, because where we come from, our culture. And that's why in the movie it's so organic, because that's how we talk, that's how we have conversations with our family members, and reminisce on what we talked about with our grandparents or our parents, or the stories they tell you to scare you so you don't do bad things. Yelena has a great story on how this was a letter to her grandmother, and how the inspiration for the writing and the stories. So yeah, you want to talk about that?
Yeah, so well, thank you for recognizing that, because I will say that one of the biggest challenges as a writer, as a female, as a woman of color, has been to really have genuine moments. And I think that that's the key word, is genuine, authentic moments. Especially when it comes to religion, because when people don't understand something, they will just kind of just brush it off. And many times I've been asked to change things, and I'm like, well, that's not the story, that's not the vision, and that's, I'm being as true as I can to what I know, which is what you're supposed to do when you're a writer.
Mm-hmm.
But I've had those challenges. So this was the first time that I didn't have to explain cultural references to someone, because we were making the film ourselves. And I really resonated with a lot of people. And even if you don't understand it, the fact that it's like educating and that you found that, a value, to me is amazing. I love that. Thank you for sharing that. This movie actually was a love letter to my grandmother, because when I was a child, every summer, we would take the Greyhound bus from Chicago all the way to Mexico, which was like 36-hour trek, probably 40 sometimes. I mean, it was a long road. And so at night we would always cross Texas. And Texas, if you know anything about Texas, I mean, it's flatland, it's dark, there's nothing out there. We're on a Greyhound bus, and I'm like this bored kid, and my grandmother would tell me these horror stories, and they were my bedtime stories so that I wouldn't be bored and so that I would go to sleep. But all of these horror stories were stories from our culture. So it could be about La Llorona, it could be about the chupacabras, it could be about the duendes, who are like little dwarfs that steal kids at night when they're out, because they're not supposed to be out at night. And my grandmother would tell me these stories in first person, because that's the kind of storyteller that she was. So she would say, she'd tell me these stories like, oh, and then, I went out late at night after my mom told me not to. And so I went to this place that, they had dancing, and all of a sudden I was dancing with this man that turned into the devil, and his handprint was left on my back. And I'm like, what? Oh my God, because she would tell me these stories in first person. So I really thought that all this stuff happened to her, and they were just amazing, amazing horror stories. I mean, and that was really the inspiration for this. And what I loved about it is that there was always a message, there was always something to be learned, a moral, and so I really tried to pour that into this love letter to my grandmother. She already passed away, but I know that she would be very proud watching this movie and knowing that that it's out in the theaters, and that people are watching it, and that they're loving it, because that's a very it's a very traditional thing for grandparents to do. and parents as well, but to, scare the living hell out of you so that you won't do things that are bad. And we listen, we listen because, yeah, I don't want the devil's handprint on my back, you know?
Yeah, I thank you. We were actually going to ask if there were any family traditions or connections with religion that inspired you to write this film. So thank you for answering that for us. That's awesome. But that resonated with me so much because I think it felt so authentic, and so I just felt like that added so much more to the overall story, all the way through to the very end, and that's all I'm going to say about that. To change gears slightly, on a technical level, I really loved the cinematography in this movie, and I know the word indie has been thrown around a few times, but this didn't feel like an indie film to me at all. Specifically, the cinematography, I just thought the shots were gorgeous, but then the transitions between the flashbacks and present day action, again, spoilers, I won't elaborate on details, but I feel like that's a technique that's rarely used in horror movies. Luis, what else do you think sets this movie apart from normal slasher flicks other than what we've already mentioned, but also on a technical level, if there's anything that you can think of?
Well, so I've been meeting a lot of great people in Hollywood. I was an assistant to Robert Gold in the movie The Call in the art department, and he's a Hollywood veteran. I mean, he was nominated for an Oscar for The Artist, for Master and Commander, and he's done tons of films. He's been in the business for 45 years. His father was an AD to Hitchcock. So Bobby is full of amazing stories. He's super creative, and so I built a relationship with him, and he helped a lot in the art department, and also he came with me to Panavision, and we were talking to the executives of Panavision, and we were able to get the grant. So we got the Panavision grant to shoot the movie. So the lenses are Panavision lenses, and the camera is an Alexa. So that's why the movie looks so good, is because of the people behind us. Another a co-producer on the movie, Hugh. Hugh, he's a stunt coordinator and a stunt man in the business. He's done over 200 projects, and he's also somebody that I met through a project, and he believed in me, and he's been very supportive, and he was also part of the stunts and a lot of the action stuff that happens in the movie. So that's why the quality of the movie is Hollywood, is because we use Hollywood equipment and we use Hollywood people, but at a friend's rate. As we believe in you. We know you're gonna go far, and next project, I know you're gonna hire us. So we're lucky. And then to your point about the flashbacks in forward, I was looking for something that I haven't done before, and something that resonated and also made it a little creepy, because you always want the audience asking questions when they're watching a movie. If they're not asking questions, you're going to lose them, right? You don't want them to get ahead of you, because that's when people lose interest in film. So I thought of ideas to keep people wondering, like, what's going on. You want the audience ask questions all the time. So that's why I thought about using those techniques.
Well, mission accomplished, because from start to finish, I was constantly like, what is going on? And really quickly, I also wanted to just second what Sharon had said earlier about the actors and actresses in the film. In good storytelling, it doesn't matter white, brown, green, purple, whatever. I found every single actor to be, and their characters to be completely engaging, relatable, but also extremely talented, as we've covered. And it's just so refreshing to see and hear other voices in a genre that I love so much, but unfortunately just isn't very diverse. So once again, thank you both for making this, because I think it's much needed.
Well, thank you for that. I will say that because they're all people of color, you don't know who's going to go first, and I think that makes it even funner to watch, because usually it's the token, person of color that goes first, and I'm like, aha! You don't know who it's going to be. You have no idea who's next. So I thought that was really fun.
That's
But yeah, no,
awesome.
this was something that Luis and I like. We made the movie that we would have loved to watch when we were growing up, because this is something, even to this day we don't have that kind of representation. So yeah, I'm glad that it's 2020. I'm like, all right, well, it was time. If not now, then when?
Right. Long overdue.
Yeah, and going to that one just to to add to what Yale's saying is an interesting part of the casting process on the auditions. So as a director, when somebody comes to audition, I don't give them any note. I just have them start reading right away. Just ask them if they have any questions. But that's it. I don't give any direction or anything. I just want to see what the actors got from the material. The majority of the actors, were just they would go for the stereotype right away. The first read was very stereotypical. They would have accents. They would act the cholo part, the gangster, the gang member, and that was so, because that's what they're asked to do in auditions
Mhm.
all the time. So it was very eye-opening for us. We're like, no, 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 this is not like you are hanging out with your friends. Like this is not, you're not in a gang. This is you're and your friends, from college, and your guys are planning this awesome trip to go party it up, live it up. And for me, that was very eye-opening and very, it's sad in many ways because, like Yelena said, it's like they only get a couple of lines here or there. They don't have the opportunity to actually go through a whole arc in a movie. So, we're very happy that, people are liking this project so we can keep that change going.
Yeah, we saw that with the wardrobe. It was interesting to see them, like, even showing up with certain wardrobe, and it's not written in there. There was no accents. None of that was written. It was just like what they were bringing to the audition, which was, like he said, very eye opening. And believe it or not, like a lot of the actors, I mean, like I said, we auditioned everybody. The ones that got cast are the ones that actually scared the hell out of us and made us really believe, like, wow, have you really died before in real life? Because man, you got it, you nailed it. Um, but but there is some actors that would come in, and they didn't even have the experience of auditioning for a horror film, because they're just not, those opportunities have not been out there for a person of color. So it was interesting to see their take on it, because I was like, wow, like, that has to do with the lack of experience. So hopefully that's going to change now. But I will say, like, I remember Chelsea, who's one of the lead actresses. I had worked with her before in A Better Life. It's a movie that came out in 2011. It's Academy Award winning drama. And so I wrote the role for her in mind, because I've always said, you know what, you're a lead character, and I don't want to see you in stereotypes. So I wrote that role for her. And she actually was the associate producer, and she helped us out with casting. So we were doing chemistry reads. And I remember one of the auditions, I look over and I see her under the desk, like under the table. I was like, what in the world? And she was that scared. That's how good our actor scared the hell out of her. And he actually got cast. So I will say, like, you can't fake you can't fake fear. And so all these actors, I mean, they brought it. They brought their A game.
Wow. Yeah. No, they totally did, and it shows. I mean, it was incredible. I think every part in this movie like blew me away with how talented everyone was. And speaking along the lines of casting, how did Danny Trejo become part of the film? He plays Sheriff Lorenzo, and you aren't really quite sure what to make of him. Is he a good guy? Is he a bad guy? And I'm not going to say, because as we said, no spoilers. But I will say that, as usual, he's great and just seemed completely perfect for the role. Did you have him in mind when you wrote that character?
From the
Absolutely.
beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, when we're sitting down in that coffee shop, we said it there and then we're like, this character, this has to be Danny Trejo, nobody else. And we did not have plan B. We're already shooting the movie, and there's no plan B. It was gonna be Danny Trejo no matter what. So yeah, so I met Danny's assistant at an event, Michael, and then Michael, he loves working in the art department, so he actually ended up helping us in the art department in the movie. And then we went, and then Michael introduced me to Gloria, Danny's agent. She's been very helpful, very supportive of the project. And but Danny's very, he's very busy. If he's not doing a movie, he's helping. He's doing a charity run. He's talking He goes to prisons and gives inspirational talks to other prisoners, and he just he's a staple of his community. I mean, he helps so much. So he's a very busy and a very hard person to get a hold of. And, so we had already given the offer to Gloria, and we were talking to her, but we haven't received an answer, and we needed we his date started like 3 days away, and we don't have a plan B. And then Yelena has a story about that.
You cannot make this up. I wish you could. You can't. So when I tell you that casting Danny was a dream come true, I literally mean it was a dream come true because, like we said, we had been in talks with his agent for months, literally, but because he's so busy, like we didn't know, and I was like, nope, we're not going to cast it. There was a point where that question came up, like, should we have auditions for that role? And then it was like, nope, the answer was no because we always knew, no, it's going to be Danny. So this is like he said, 3 days before we actually like meet him on set. And we're working 18-hour days because we were shooting in Topanga Canyon from like 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. So they're night shoots, everyone's exhausted. It's cold. It's 19 degrees, which yes, I'm from Chicago, so that shouldn't be cold, but it's a different kind of cold because it's California cold. And so it was a very long day, but I remember having this dream, and in my dream, Danny was in my dream, and I elevator pitched him, and I was like, "Hi, I'm Yelyna De León. I'm a writer. I'm from USC." And I pitched him in 30 seconds, like to be in the movie. And he was like, "When would you need me?" And I was like, "Tomorrow." He was like, "Okay, yes, I'm in." And I remember, like, I woke up and I was so like freaking happy because I felt like it was real. Like I thought it was real. I called Luis and I was like, "We got Danny." And he's like, "We did?" And I was like, "Yes." And then I'm like, "Oh wait, my bad. No, sorry, that was just a dream." And because it felt so real. It felt so real. And so I was just like, "Oh man, I don't know why I had that dream, but okay." So flash forward, it was one of those really cold nights, and I had gone to pick up an RV, which was like really far away, but I was the only person that could leave set. So I had this RV that I tried to get into Topanga Canyon, but the steeps were, I mean, it was the hills were very, it was like very steep, so I couldn't get it in there. It would have bottomed out basically. So I had to end up returning it. And this after like an 18-hour day. And I was like, "Are you serious? Oh my God, I'm exhausted." So I had this crew member with me that was going to drive me back. And I was like, "You know what? I'm hungry. Let's just like stop and eat." So we returned the RV. I'm talking about like Marina Del Rey. Then from there we went to Venice, and we went to go eat at this restaurant. And I was like, "All right, I'm ready to go. I'm exhausted. I'm done." So we're going back towards the car, and I open the car door and I look over, and we parked right in front of the restaurant. So there was another restaurant right next to it. It was like a California wrap place. And I look inside and I'm like, "Oh my God." Like, what? "Oh my God, look, it's Danny Trejo." And the crew member was like, Yell, you're delirious. I think you're working too hard. Like, that's just the Mexican man." And I'm like, "That is not just a Mexican man." I was like, "I know Danny Trejo when I see Danny Trejo. That is Danny Trejo." So I like beelined inside. I went to the counter. I didn't want to be like paparazzi or anything because I mean he was eating. You cannot like talk to a lion. You can't disturb a lion when he's eating. So I was like, "All right, I'm gonna like chill." So I get to the front of the counter and I'm like, "All right, what should I order?" And I asked the crew guy, I was like, "So what do you want to eat?" And he says really loudly, he was like, "We just ate." And I'm like, "Oh my God. If looks could kill right now, you would be a character in the sequel for Murder in the Woods." Because honestly, I was just, it's called improvising. Oh my God. I was so like embarrassed, but I was like, "Okay, whatever." So then I look up at the counter and I'm like, "Okay, the cheapest thing on the menu was a cookie and a soup." So I ordered a cookie and a soup. That's what I ordered because, we just eaten. So finally, like we're waiting for our order. And then I see this girl get up and she leaves. That was Danny's daughter. I didn't know that at the time, but it was his daughter. She went to go get the car. So I was like, "Okay, this is my opportunity. I'm going to go talk to him." And all of a sudden he gets up, he goes to the bathroom. As soon as he comes out of the bathroom, the entire restaurant, everybody there, the cashiers, the line cooks, I mean, everybody, the bus boys, they all come out. There's like 30 people. And they're like, "Oh, can we get a picture with you?" And then I was like, "Oh, great. There goes my opportunity." Right. Cause they're all surrounding him. So then I had about like 10 seconds and 20 feet between the time that he's about to exit the building. And I literally just go up to him and I gave him my elevator pitch, like in my dream. And I was like, "Yeah, we've been talking to Gloria." He's like, "Oh, you have?" And then he's like, "Well, when would you need me?" And I said, actually, this Friday. He's like, this Friday. And I said, yes. He goes, okay, well, let me check my schedule with Gloria and I'll let you know. So we take a picture. I send it to Luis and I'm like, oh my God, you're not going to believe this. And he's like, what? I was like, yes, manifesting. And so I don't know, like 3 hours later, I think it was like 3 hours later, we get the call and his agent was like, he's in. So, I mean, dreams do come true. I will say that.
Literally.
Wow. Well,
Literally.
thanks for confirming my suspicions, because the entire time watching it, I was like, they had to have written this for him because he's just too perfect. So that's an awesome story.
That is amazing. Yes, I love it.
Thank you for sharing that. Oh, man. So how many days did he actually film with you guys?
He, believe it or not, he was only with us one day.
Wow.
Yeah, wow. That's amazing.
Movie magic, people.
Just because again, we're small budget movies, so we just had to maximize his time on set. So what I did is I just shot him all day, his side, and the next day we shot the flip side with the stand-in. And his stunt man Norm, he was also really awesome and supportive of the movie. So Norm was with us a couple of days, and then on the second day he was Danny Trejo's. He was the back of Danny Trejo for the overs, but he's also Latino. So again, it's like it was very exciting to just work with the diverse cast and crew on this movie. But yeah, we just had to, as a director, I just had to know exactly what I needed and then just go for it.
Yeah, you have to be really creative sometimes when it comes to that. And did you guys attend a screening with him afterwards? What was his reaction?
He's been very busy. I mean, we've done some interviews with him, but he's so busy that he's seen the movie at home, but he hasn't been able to attend to the screenings and everything because again he's always on a film set. If you go to his IMDb, he has like over I don't know 400 credits. It's insane.
Yeah.
And like I said, he's somebody that doesn't like to sit around. He's somebody that likes to be working or helping or inspiring people. He's a springboard for a lot of talent in many ways because he likes to be in movies like even student films. His son is also a director and he just directed him in a movie that's coming out soon. So he's just always helping, and then if he's not doing that, he's doing like food drives. Right now with COVID, he's out and about and always very very protected of himself with his mask and very careful. But he's out and about, you know, raising money. I mean, raising food and giving food to homeless and different organizations. The same thing with like I said, he goes to different prisons and talks about gives them hope that there's a light at the end of the tunnel. And so I mean he's overall a really amazing human being and a great actor because once he steps on set, like the whole set changes. It's everybody brings they're forced to bring their A game. And it just it's hard to describe the experience of having him on set because the man just glows and he's just amazing.
He really is. And I'm glad that he was able to be in your film just like you guys planned. That's awesome. So I know we are running out of time here. So I wanted to do a quick lightning round with you guys. So just we'll start with Yelyna first. First horror movie that you've ever watched.
That I remember watching, I want to say Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yeah.
or the Exorcist. I don't remember right now. One of those two.
And Luis?
Friday the 13th.
I think that was mine too. All right. Favorite horror movie or movies of all time, if you can't think of just one. Yelyna?
Oh my god. It's a Japanese movie. They're on an island. What the heck is it called? Help me.
Ooh, Mindy?
Battle Royale?
Battle Royale. Yes,
Oh.
Thank you. Yes.
Nice one, Spencer. All right. And Luis?
I would have to say because it's a movie that inspired me to be, director and pursue movie magic, which is Star Wars. believe it or not.
Okay.
Good, interesting answer. I like that.
When I was 7 years old.
So we won't do the math. We won't figure out.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh wait, was it favorite horror film or favorite film overall?
It was favorite horror, but you know.
Oh,
Okay.
sorry. I thought film overall.
I was like, since when is Star Wars a horror film? Like, I don't know. I gotta rewatch it.
You know,
Oh, horror.
horror is so subjective. There's some scary parts.
One of my favorite horror movies that I really enjoy was The Hills Have Eyes.
Ooh, yeah, the original?
Yeah, the original. Yeah.
Absolutely. This question I wrote for Yelyna specifically because she's a Chicago girl like we are. But Luis, you can answer too if you have an answer to this. Favorite Chicago pizza place?
That's easy for me. It's Naples. It's on the south side in the back of the yards. I think they have a bunch of different locations now, but if you have not tried it, it is a must. It's
Okay.
Naples Pizza.
And where exactly are you from in Chicago, if you don't mind saying?
No, back of the yards.
That's where you grew up?
Yeah, on the south side of the back, in the back of the yards. That's right.
Awesome. And are you familiar with Chicago pizza, Luis?
I've been to Chicago a few times and I love it because like a big city with Midwest friendliness. So I really love Chicago. If it wasn't for the cold weather, I would probably live there. Tell you the truth, because it's like it's a big city, big a lot of energy, but just people are super super nice. But so I've been to a lot of pizza places, but I'm really bad. It's just like my friends take me, and I just don't even remember the name of the place they take me. I'm very bad with names of all sorts. I'm a visual person, and my job's always, when I was before I was a filmmaker, I was a graphic art. I'm still a graphic artist. Like all the graphic design that you see on the movie has been me. So it's so they call me picture boy because it's like I'm a visual person. So I remember if I see a face, if I see something, I'll remember it forever. But names of people, names of places, I'm really bad. But yes, I've had amazing deep dish pizza in Chicago for sure.
Okay, well, I was going to simplify it and say thin crust or deep dish.
Deep dish.
Absolutely.
That's real Chicago pizza right there.
Fuck that New York shit. All right.
Yeah, they're always like, we're the best. I'm like, oh, you haven't had deep dish Naples pizza.
And do you have any upcoming projects that you are working on? Yelyna, if you want to start first.
I do. Well, I actually was supposed to be shooting something this summer that I wrote and directed. It's a comedy called Bringing Up Julio. However, as you know, the world shut down, so everything's just kind of on hold, which is it's okay because I've been writing. I've been finishing up a lot of the other scripts that I have. So we're just in a hold right now to see what's going to come next. But the phones are ringing and everyone's asking, and I'm like, okay, well, let's see. I don't know which one's going to be next, but I do have several scripts. Some horror scripts, some slashers, of course. No spoilers, but everyone keeps asking if Murder in the Woods has a sequel, which is always a possibility. We don't know. We have no idea, but yeah, we'll see what happens. Right now, it's just a matter of seeing what happens with the industry because it is coming back in a much different way, and a lot of the projects have to add about 25% more in budget, just due to COVID and stuff. Just to make sure that we're following safety protocols. So that's always an issue as well because now you need more money to make a movie. So we'll see. Right now, I've been just full time on this movie and just making sure that people know about it, that people are going to the drive-ins and seeing it. The VOD release as well on September 18th. Like we've been really working really hard just to make sure that everybody knows about it. So I just want to say thank you so much. Thank you for going out to see it. I'm so bummed, Sharon, that I wasn't able to see you or your husband. I don't know. Maybe you guys are ghosts because I looked for you guys and I was like, where are they? Or maybe I'm a ghost because you didn't see me either. So, but it was a nice theater. It was a really big theater. I will say that. So maybe we just kind of like miss each other because I think you said you went to the bathroom.
Yeah.
And I think I was getting the poster up because we had to put up our by the step and repeat. So I was busy doing that. But yeah, we were in the same space, so that's kind of awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. So thank you for asking that. But you can always find out what I'm up to next. especially actors, because I know they're like, oh my God, what are you working on? And I always love to, give opportunities to up and coming actors, especially from Chicago. I will say that, like the main role, Fernanda, I wrote her backstory being from Chicago because that was like really important for me to represent that as well. So, you can always go to my social media, at Yelyna De León, both on Instagram and on Facebook. Also, my web page is YelynaDeLeon.com. And for more info on the movie, you can go to murderinthewoodsmovie.com, which always has the updated listings and where you can find the movie, which is out on VOD now. So please check it out, watch it, support, let people know about it, like, share. Tell your friends, tell your enemies, all those mean girls that need to see themselves in movies, they can see themselves in this movie. All your exes that you want to see themselves in this movie, they can go and do the same thing. So it's one of those movies. It's a fun movie.
I'm legitimately waiting to buy it on Blu-ray. Like, as soon as I watched it the first time, I was like, this is a must own for me. So I'm very, very excited about owning this movie.
Awesome. Well, we'll have to send you a signed copy then.
Oh my gosh, that would be amazing.
Awesome.
I will message you on social.
And Luis, is there anything that you're working on?
Yeah, so we've been developing this animated comedy with John Cryer's production company for a few years now. So we started to pitch that again. So that's exciting. And on the film side, also some horror. It's an action film that I'm writing that I'm pretty excited about because I took this time of COVID to write something because I had the time and I was stuck in Miami, which is not a bad place to be stuck in during quarantine. So that was pretty inspiring, and also another horror film. In this business, you need to have like 20 projects, like 20 irons in the fire. You never know which one's gonna go. It's like the one that you think is gonna go sooner is usually not the one that goes. Is the one that you least expected is gonna go.
Mm.
uh, that's what's happening. So, and I've also been directing and producing video games
Oh,
for a
cool.
company that is based in Poland. So I've been traveling a lot to Krakow
Wow.
in Poland.
Well, you guys aren't sitting around. That's pretty cool. You're pretty busy. I just wanted to say in closing, again, thank you for joining us today. But I think, and I want Hollywood to hear me loud and clear. When we get super popular, Sharon and I will make sure that we blast this all over social media and all over media in general. But I think the moral of the story here today is that horror is universal, and no matter where you come from, who you are, or what your background is, all teenagers or young people will forever think it's fun to go to a secluded cabin in the woods to party, which we all know is never a good idea. And this movie, I think, is a testament to certain universal truths in horror, and you both more than proved that, regardless of who you are or what your background is or where you come from. So well done, both of you. And thank you for making such a blast of slasher flick. We love it.
Absolutely. Thank you guys so much. We love the movie. Yeah. Everyone, go on VOD, find it, download it, watch it.
And I will be messaging you guys about that Blu-ray. No, but really, thank you both so much. This has been a pleasure, and your movie's amazing and so much fun. We can't express that enough.
Well, thank you for having us. Thank you for understanding the movie, and we're super excited to hear that you got a lot of things that some people don't, and you saw the how genuine the characters were and the storytelling, in the cultural and religious side of things, and yeah, and whoever wants the movie, it's available now for on VOD on murderinthewoodsmovie.com. We have a list of all the different VOD platforms, and we're going to be out on Blu-ray in probably about 30 days from now. So stay tuned for that.
All right, guys. Well, thank you again. And stay safe. And yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what comes out next from you guys.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll be watching.
Thank you.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you all for listening to us. If you become a patron at any level by October 1st, you will receive a trick or treat of our choice. But spoiler, it's going to be all treats, no tricks. You can also rate and review us on whatever streaming platform you listen to us on. It helps us get more exposure. It's free. It only takes a few minutes. You can write us your Halloween stories, maybe that one time you scared the crap out of someone.
Or the time when you were almost murdered in the woods.
Let us know what you'll be watching in October. We love movie suggestions. You can write us at whorestalkhorror@gmail.com with all your ghost stories or creepy stories that we can share on our show. Also, please be kind to each other and also be safe. And as always, thanks for getting creepy with us. Sharon, do you want a beer?
Oh my God.